From the fall of Rome in the 15th century to the fall of Constantinople in 1543, the Middle Ages saw many powerful knights and paladins: Charles Martel, Richard Braveheart, Olaf Tryggvason, of whom I made a video, check out later, King Arthur, and many others, but the best of all legendary warriors, for me, was Roland the Paladin, the nephew of Charlemagne. We will see today 4 books that talk about his life, starting with Gerard de Vienne. This book was written by Bertrand de Bar-sur-Aubé in the 12th century. In this history, Roland isn't even the main character, but we can already see his honor and braveness. The story starts by telling us, the readers, how Garin de Moglen had 4 sons, Hernaut, Girard, Renier, and Million, and how by their braveness they got 4 fields each, and how the son of Hernaut, Aymery, got very angry with the queen, the wife of Charlemagne, because she humiliated his uncle, Gerard de Vienne. Now, this insult made him and his brothers fight against Charlemagne, who sieged the city of Vienne for 10 whole years. In this time frame, many battles were fought, a lot of blood was spilled. The sieged men didn't starve in this long siege, because they had a secret tunnel connecting to the outside world. Now, trying to have an ending to this long war, the Emperor Charlemagne sent his own nephew, Roland, the Paladin, to fight against Olivier, one of the strongest men of Vienne's side. They then fought all day near the city of Vienne, but neither of them prevailed. Their strength was equal, and their stamina was so great that they fought until the sky got dark, making it impossible to keep fighting. An angel then appeared to them, telling them to make amends and keep the strength to fight against the Saracens. And the friendship between Roland and Olivier indeed grew strong, with Roland himself proposing in marriage to the sister of Olivier, who was called Aude, and she became his bride. But the story of Roland's love life didn't stop there, because in another book, this paladin got into a lot of trouble because of his heart. I'm talking about Orlando Innamorato, written by Boiardo in the 15th century. It has a very contrived plot, passing by various heroic figures like Bradamante, Astolfo, Roland, Ruggiero, etc. But we can organize them between 3 main events. First, the quest for the love of Angelica, the princess, daughter of the king of Katai, that is, the north of China. Second, the defense of Katai by Angelica's father against the Tartars, the cycle in which we are introduced to the epic female warrior Marfisa, and the last event is the siege of the Moors around Paris. Now, with this framework given, let's see the plot. The story begins with the arrival of the beautiful princess Angelica to a tournament in Charlemagne's court, where Christians and Muslims could participate, and the princess offers herself as a prize for whoever defeats her brother Argalia in a duel. It happens that a Muslim knight, Ferraú, defeats her brother, but Angelica flees from the court, making all the knights who fell in love with her start a pursuit. This included our paladin Roland and also Rinaldo, a very important character in the story. Later, in the Ardennes forest, the princess finds herself near a river, from which she drank. It was the river of love, and in her heart it started to bloom a love for this Rinaldo. He, on the other hand, drank of the river of hate, and he started to despise the princess. Now Angelica asks the wizard Malagigi to kidnap Rinaldo and keep him in an island. The princess then flies to her father's city in Katai, but is captured by one of her admirers, called King Agrican. Now, our paladin, Roland, fights against Agrican and defeats him, getting Angelica for himself. But now, this Rinaldo escaped the island where Angelica sent him and found Roland, saying that he must go back to Paris to help Charlemagne against the Saracens, who were trying to conquer the city. But Roland disagreed, and the two of them started to duel. In the meantime, the king Agramante, who ruled over Africa, invaded France with a massive army, together with strong warriors from the Muslim side, like Ferraú, Rodomonte, and Ruggiero. So Rinaldo rushes to Paris, followed by Angelica, who was herself followed by Roland. They then reached again the forest of Ardennes, where Angelica drank now of the river of hate and Rinaldo of the river of love, inverting their relations. Now, with Rinaldo and Roland both loving Angelica, they duel again for her love. Charlemagne, seeing how much chaos this girl caused, says that he will ask the Duke Namo to keep her safe in a tower, and that he would give her hand only to the best knight who would fight against the Moors. The poem stops there abruptly, with Boiardo's narrator explaining that he can write no more because Italy has been invaded by French troops, so a random war interrupted the holy work of the author. Now, we will pass to a book that I myself consider to be one of the most epic stories ever written. As Boiardo died before finishing the Orlando Innamorato, his friend Ludovico Ariosto wrote the sequel, Orlando Furioso. In this story, Angelica escapes from the palace of Duke Namo and Roland keeps pursuing her, but the pagan princess ends up falling in love with a wounded soldier, who Angelica heals back to life. The soldier's name was Medoro. The two of them started to live in a garden, loving each other. Now, imagine what Roland felt when he discovered that the woman he pursued for months was with a Moor. He became so furious that he took off his clothes and started to destroy everything in his way. Arguably, he peaked in his strength in this context. He, for example, took out trees from the ground as if they were nothing. He was walking on the pathway when one man who was mounting a donkey screamed that he should go away from the path, to which he kicked the donkey into the stratosphere. He also leashed another donkey who he abused so much that he had to drag around the poor animal on a leash until the donkey died. He also, seeing Angelica on a shore, pursued her, punching her horse on the face with such a strength that the head of the animal exploded like crystal, but she used a ring of invisibility to escape Roland. But Roland went up into a horse, forcing it to swim in the ocean, but he forced the animal so much that he drowned, and the Paladin swam the ocean until he reached Africa, where he kept destroying everything on his way. Meanwhile, Astolfo, another Paladin, went on a journey to get back Roland's witch. He went to Ethiopia on a hippogriff, where he found above a mountain the earthly paradise, and he asked the prophet Elijah, who was there, for his chariot, and from there he flew to the moon, because in the moon, as everybody knows, everything that is lost on earth is found, including the wits of persons who became crazy. Astolfo then found there the wits of Roland in a little flask, and he went back to earth, bringing also the army of the Ethiopians to help against Agramante, the king of Africa. But in the end, Olivier and his friends get to Roland, and after a very hard struggle, they immobilize him near a shore in North Africa. Astolfo then gives him back his wit, and he forgets his loves for Angelica, going back with his friends to Europe. Roland then kills King Agramante and defeats the Muslim invasion of Paris. But now, the last story about Roland we will see today is the main one, and probably the first one that was written, that is, the Song of Roland. In this one, we are told that the Muslim king of Spain, Marsili, wanted to invade France. Charlemagne, though, wanted to make a peace offer, but for this, he will need someone to go make the negotiations. Roland, his nephew, says that Ganelon would be the best option, but Ganelon thinks that this was a suggestion that had an intention of killing him, as being an ambassador was a very risky task, with many being decapitated by King Marsili. On the way, then, Ganelon decides to betray his emperor, and makes a pact with Marsili to make an ambush to defeat Roland and the French troops. He then returns to the emperor with messages of peace, false presents, and saying that Marsili had converted to Christianity. Now, the French army would be disbanded, so the emperor started marching back to Paris, while Roland stayed some miles away, in the rearguard. Ganelon then gave signal for Marsili to betray the peace treaty, attacking the group of Roland, with near 100,000 Saracens, against just Roland the 12 pairs of friends, and 20,000 soldiers. Roland was the bravest of all soldiers. Together with his friend Olivier, he fought bravely, with the moral and spiritual support of the Bishop Turpin. But in the end, they were doomed to lose. Roland held within a legendary sword, the Durindana, that was unbreakable and had various holy relics, like the tooth of Saint Peter, a piece of cloth of Virgin Mary's tunic, and a drop of blood from Saint Denis. As Roland was almost dying, after a long fight, he tried to break his sword, as it would be a shame for it to fall in the hands of the Moors. But even though he struck his sword continuously against a rock, it never broke. He was almost dying, but with his last breath, he blew the elephant, a magical horn that he had. The sound traveled by plains and mountains, until it reached Charlemagne, who after hearing this went back, for he saw now that the enemy had betrayed him. With his army, then, he defeated King Marsili. As for the fate of Ganelon, the betrayer, he was sentenced to be leashed in 4 different horses, who were made to run in different directions, ripping him apart. Now, for more crazy stories like that, subscribe in this channel and like the video. This was Historiae Moriae, and I hope to see you next week.